The Black Lives Matter movement that we've seen over the last couple of weeks will be a real watershed moment in British history and American history.
I can breathe. Please, the name of it. I can breathe here.
I think those images of George Floyd that went viral, of that police officer kneeling on his neck and suffocating him to death, resonated with so many people who themselves feel like racial inequality has suffocated them in Britain and abroad.
Just because I'm mixed race does not make me better than a dark-skinned black woman.
I think the reason this has had such an impact, even though we've seen other incidences like this in the past, is because at the moment we're in a global lockdown and people have the capacity and the time to give this issue more attention in a way that they never have been able to before.
No peace! No peace! No peace!
There's a real window of opportunity at the moment to deal with racial inequality in Britain, and it's been great to see that the vast majority of protesters have been peaceful. But I think we might risk throwing away this opportunity if we let people co-opt the agenda who have a regressive approach to racial inequality. For instance, we've seen people calling for the police to be abolished in America. We've seen people calling for the abolishment of capitalism altogether. And we've seen a lot of white people being pressured into performances of white guilt. Ultimately, I think this is a backwards approach to racial progress. We've seen over the last few days the statue of Edward Colston, who was a slave trader in Bristol, being ripped down and thrown into the river, and we're now seeing calls for other colonial monuments to be brought down. I think this is a good time to have a conversation about these kinds of monuments, but I don't think we can fool ourselves in believing that just bringing them down will do anything real and meaningful for racial progress. What I don't condone is the mob-like way in which these statues have been brought down. I think just as the erection of the statues in the first place says something about British society in the past, how we choose to bring them down will say something about our society. And I want that to be a story of consensus and unity in coming to terms with who we are as a British people and who we want to be.
Because to be black is to be an afterthought in this country.
I think what the Black Lives Matter protests and the events of the last couple of weeks has shown is that there isn't really a consensus about racial inequalities, why they manifest, how they manifest, and how to deal with them. There's so many grey areas when it comes to racial inequalities. For instance, when it comes to black deaths in police custody, we see that they're not disproportionate given the demographics of the United Kingdom. And when we look at racial inequalities in the education system, we see that black African children do as well, if not better, than white British children. And actually, the real inequalities exist for black Caribbean children. I think it is through exploring these grey areas that we will find the real solutions to tackling racial inequality in Britain today.